What's up, guys? It's Mr. Jam Vet, and today we are back for the second episode of like just answering questions with Jam. Jam answers your questions, whatever we call this podcast-esque thing we got going on. And today's question comes from none other than Ninjak. Great content. Go ahead and subscribe, guys. Let's get him to 500 subscribers. Great content, particularly if you are a newer player, guys. Go ahead. If you don't like him for whatever reason, fair. But if it's I'll do it later, pause the video and do it now. Trust me when I tell you, it's going to be to your benefit. To see somebody, it's the closest thing you're going to get ever to live training and seeing somebody go through the ups and downs. And actually practicing the process. And actually seeing the results. So you can see exactly where you're going wrong and what you need to correct. Go subscribe. Okay. So the question is, something I've struggled with figuring out on my series is how much training can one take in a day, and how can you know when you're reaching your limit? Can you take a break and come back to it later that day? Or is that not how it works? I think it may have to do with brain elasticity. You mentioned in a video we did, but I'm not sure. It's especially applicable to me because my day job takes up the majority of my week, and so I frequently find myself wanting to grind out hours of mons on the weekend, but have noticed I stall out mentally sooner than I prefer. How can I improve my training endurance? What tricks are there to being able to train longer but still efficiently, not making bad habits through fatigue from a psychology learning standpoint? So excellent question. I think it's something I don't clarify enough is, I guess, exactly how to train, how long to train. And with my new book, all this will be detailed in. So I appreciate every question you guys are asking that way. When it's written, like, you never have to wonder ever again. So the first thing I'd like to point out is the part where he mentions it being a grind, right? Grinding out. The only time you'd ever need to grind something out is when it's something you don't want to do. And so if it's something you don't want to do, then that begs the next question: why are you doing it? Particularly in something like Mons. And so, the answer to that may be, well, I want to get to number one. Okay, why do you want to get to number one? Right? Is it you realizing your potential in something you enjoy, or is it for the approval of the community or whoever? Right? And so, let's say that it's approval of the community. That needs to be released. Why? Because you're not going to enjoy the journey, and that's going to come back. We're going to discuss that in a sec. But if it's for the approval of whoever, right? And it's not just an expression of you wanting to realize your potential and doing so at something you enjoy, you're going to grow frustrated. You're going to be impatient. You're going to do all the wrong things because you want to get there so fast. Because if I don't get there fast, people think I'm not good. So, very bad mindset to have. So what do we do about that? One way, at least, and I think this might be the best way I can think of now, or maybe that's just all I got right now that's coming to mind, is to imagine what it would be like if you got it and they didn't acknowledge you. Would it have been worth it? So let's use a money example. Let's say that you wanted to make $1 million, right? You're like, when I get the $1 million, when I can buy my Gucci shirt and my car and I can show off, right? I can let them know I'm successful. Let's say you did all that. And they're like, okay, I don't care. Would it be worth it? Would you have still done it if you knew they wouldn't acknowledge you? And so that's how you can tell if something is true internal drive, like a greater purpose. For example, why I want to be the best, or at the time, why I wanted to be at the time, it was just because I don't like not being the best when I invest my time. But at this point, my goal is to contribute as much as I possibly can to make this journey as simple as I possibly can for others. So it's not about views, not about, like, I don't care. I want as many people as possible to find the information, but that's the extent to which views matter for me. I want more exposure, and I want more people to know the truth about this and how easy and all these mental things. That's the extent. But views for the sake of views, or just for the sake of saying, oh, I did, hey bros, look at my views, or you validate me with your views or your likes, or I couldn't give less of a fuck about that. And so I'd ask, when you get to number one, or when you hit your goal, who's it for? Now, let's assume that helped you, and now you have clarity, and now you have the right perspective of saying, okay, now that I realized what I was doing is for me, and let's say that it is for you, then I'd ask, why aren't you having fun? It's either that you're in the wrong game, or you think losing is bad. Why you'd have to grind, or why you'd have to rush. Because you don't rush through something you enjoy. You want to savor it. Or you want it to last. You're like, oh man, I can't wait to do it again. So if the journey for you has become a means to an end, and mind you, Ninjak is one of the most process-oriented people that I've ever trained. So I'll never knock. This isn't about Ninjak in particular. This is more of a general kind of answer. But in case it does apply to him, then this is helpful too. Or as so process. I don't remember where I was, but I remember my moot point. So let's say that you've determined that it's not about everybody else, and it's really for you. That is, why aren't you having fun? Why are you being impatient? Why aren't you savoring it? Right? And if we know I don't have to ask you if you're having fun if you're winning. So if there is no fun, then I would say no fun. If the fun is diminishing, then you're viewing the goal as the end all be all, and the process is just a mean to an end, an inconvenience that I have to do. And why do I have to, And again, it doesn't have to be as extreme as that. It could be a subtle sort of like, I lost. Now I got to go back down to have to climb back up. Which again, going down and climbing back up is a part of the process. And I was having a conversation, it's so well timed, with a buddy of mine today, and he was reading, shout out to Guy Janigo. He was reading a book, and he mentioned the fact that, one of the quotes in there was like, goal-oriented, there are two types of people, goal-oriented people and systems-oriented people, or process-oriented. Like, you can use process or system interchangeably there. Goal-oriented people focus so much on the goal that they have a horrible time with the journey. And when they get the goal, they just try for something else. Have a horrible time, get the goal, have a horrible time, get the goal, have a horrible time, get the goal. Systems-oriented people enjoy both the journey and the goal. So they focus a lot on the process. I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying the process. And they love the goal. And so my question is, which one are you more of? Are you goal-oriented or are you systems-oriented? Goal-oriented people tend to quit very easily. Because it's like, I'm not getting closer to my goal. No. They quit. Systems-oriented people appreciate the ups and downs because they just know that it's just a part of how things work. And so let's say that you are systems oriented. How, now we're going to get to your question, because we had to unpack. Because generally when something is asked, that's not the root of the problem. But let's say all that is true. You're enjoying the game. You're focusing on the systems, all these things. And it has nothing to do with you needing the approval of the community or approval of your friend, or you just want something to bolster your self-esteem, right? Like, as long as it's not coming from that place, we can really talk about how to practice. And so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you take a break. So let's say that you're supposed to play 5 games a day. And some people play 5 games and can play 5 games focusedly, because we have different levels of focus that we've practiced. Can play 5 games focusedly. Some people can only play 2 games, then they lose focus. So if you're feeling that, then you can take a break. Take a 20 minute break or so, 10 minute, 15 minute break, come back, start again until you get your 5 games in. Some people get them all at once. Some people need split between. The way it's done is a little less important. Like, some are better than others, but I don't think that's the biggest determinant. What's the biggest determinant? Consistency. So it is worse to play let's say you're supposed to play 5 games a day for 5 days. That's 25 games a week. It is worse to play 25 games in a day than to play 5 games a day for 5 days. So if you're going and you're like, oh, it's the end of the week, I gotta catch up, I gotta grind through it, then that's coming from a lens of, one, you're behind. You can't be behind on something you want to perpetuate. And if you're actually enjoying the journey and enjoying Pokemon, you want to perpetuate that. It's not something you want to end. So if you're grinding, that means you feel behind and there's a place that you're trying to get to and you don't want to be where you are right now. That's where the happiness lies. When I get to there, oh man. Right? And so, again, that's why I said generally it's rarely one thing. It's rarely one thing. Generally, there are layers to our behaviors. Again, coming back, let's assume that you're not super goal-oriented and not enjoying the process. Let's say you are enjoying the process. Then just stay consistent. If you're busy, I'd recommend playing the bare minimum of what you can. So let's say you're supposed to play 5 games a day, but you had a super busy day. Try to squeeze in at least 1. Right? Remember, this is something you enjoy. So it shouldn't be a burden like, I gotta go play Pokemon. It's like, hell yeah. I get to play Pokemon. I get to do whatever your game is, right? Because why the hell does the guy Sacred Sword? Sorry, there's literally no point in Sacred Swording there. Like, there's nothing to hit. But no, sorry, that was just, I had to call that out. Okay, maybe homie just doesn't have a ghost move. But if it's something like, gotta go grind it out, I gotta go do that, then it's coming from the wrong place. Stay consistent over time. It's far better. There's no tricks or tactics to it. It's just play the bare minimum you can. If you have to play 5, play as many as you can manage below the 5. Or, yeah, as many as you can manage. Well, how do I word that? Play as many as you can manage. So if your goal is 5, but you can only play 1, play 1. If your goal is 5, you can only play 2, play 2. But play every day. That's how you're going to see the results. Because something he mentioned to me is that he's noticing, like, because of that lapse in time, it's, I'm making silly mistakes. And that's because you just don't. Take a push-up. Which one do you think is going to get you the most results? Right? 20 push-ups in one day. Okay, now let's say 100 push-ups in one day, or 20 push-ups every day. So you do 100 push-ups once every week, or you do 20 push-ups 5 days a week. Who do you think is going to build more muscle? Who do you think his body is going to get used to it and adapt more? It's just like that with your brain. And that's one of the bigger things I tend to have with when I train people is the consistency part, right? Players want to, okay, I'm just gonna, I'll skip 4 days, and then when the next week comes around, I'm like, okay, how'd you progress? Yeah, I haven't been doing too well. I'm like, okay, how much of the process have you been following? Yeah, I haven't been, and I understand life exists. Sometimes I can't upload. It's just again playing the bare minimum, keeping it at the forefront. Consistency is what's gonna get me there, not one big swoop. And the reverse version of this is, let's say you have a project, and I am guilty of this at times, and I have to continually remind myself, I am not perfect, guys. When I tell you I've done all this shit before. But it's sort of like with my books, I have three major writing projects I have right now. And whenever I tend to think about it like, okay, I'm going to sit down, and this is common knowledge, like you know it, I know it, sometimes it's just hard to put in practice. That's why the saying says, to know and not to do is not to know. If you don't do it, you don't know it. Intellectual knowledge is almost useless. Almost. To know and not to do is not to know. But going back to, so you break it down and you say, okay, well, what's the bare minimum I need to do every day to get this book done? Oh, let me write for 15 minutes a day. But what I tend to do is go, Saturday I'm going to sit down for 4 hours and write. Come on, man. And what I find is when I sit down 15 minutes, because I don't have the habit of writing, and so I'm quote unquote fighting against my habits. My old self is like, put it off, Jam, put it off, and wait till you have this big span of time to do it. And my new self is saying, just do 15 minutes a day. Stay consistent. The book has to get done. But I'm like, but I'm getting less done if I do only, how much can I do in 15 minutes? Rubbish. And what I find is when I do it like that, man, I get so much work done. And it's only 15 minutes. So approach your battles like that. Consistency. And the last story is actually this morning. The same guy that I said was system oriented, shout out to Guides and Eagle, broke a goal of his that he's been going at for a long time. He's been ready for a long time, but the mentality had to shift, and it's finally done so. And he's cruising. And he said, I'm going to make, for the longest, the biggest obstacle was the consistency, right? Staying consistent, grabbing the game every day. And he said, this week, I made a decision. I'm going to make a goal of getting at least 5 games a day, no matter what. Within the first day, he breaks his goal. What do you know? Consistency, guys. Consistency trumps volume when his volume isn't consistent. And so that's all I got for y'all today. Hit the like button if this was helpful. I'd love to hear your comments on how I can improve and all that stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.